Hello everyone and welcome to the next food show that I'm going to be giving tonight. It'll be a surprise, partly is a surprise. So I'm going to ask my cameraman, who happens to be my son, are there lots and lots of people? There's no one there yet. All right, okay, I'm going to wait a little while until the first one comes and registers. One. And who is it?
I cannot see.
Hello. I'm not sure who you are, but my son is going to click and then we'll see your name. Can you write your name, please, so that we can see your name? That would be lovely. I'd like to say hello to you. Okay, whoever you are, welcome on board. Today's Thursday, and on Thursdays I give my shows in English. And once again, we're going to wait maybe a half a minute, 1 minute until we officially start. I hope I can entertain you in the meantime. And I'm going to ask my son Nikolai if there's anyone else on board.
2 people, but no names.
And no names. Now, for those of you who are watching, would you mind writing your names?
4.
The 4 of you, all 4 of you. Can you write your names so I can say hello to you with your name, of course. Okay, and for those of you who just docked in, we're going to start in about a minute, more or less. Depending on the number of people. We'll start once there are 7 or 8. We are now 4.
We're now 8 people, but
we're now 8. Okay,
10.
So we'll be a little more.
You have to say it's English. 12.
We're now 12. This is lovely. Hello, everybody. I'm so glad. This is a large number for the international section. It's lovely.
Letizia von Hahn.
So Letizia. Hello, Letizia. We see your name. Hello, welcome. And everybody else whose name I don't see or my son cannot see, welcome on board. Okay, I think we will slowly start, and those who will come a little later, they will be able to see the replay a little later if they so wish. Now, I'm sure there are lots of newcomers. I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Alexandra von Hahn, and I am an author of the Culinary Magic of the Emirates, which is the first cookbook written by a non-Emirati, by an expat, and that tells you a lot already. By expat, I lived in the United Arab Emirates for 5 years because my husband is a German diplomat and he's retired now. But we lived there for 5 years and they were wonderful, wonderful years. All other postings were semi or high risk countries. And you'll probably have the privilege of tasting the specialties from every country as Tuesdays and Thursdays pass on. So next Thursday there might be a surprise. May not be Emirati, it might be Emirati. Okay, and I am, for those of you who don't know me at all, and you wonder where do I come from? I think I'm a mixture myself. My mother being Hungarian, my father being a German Balt. I was born because my parents were in South America, in Chile. 3 siblings, another sibling, we moved to Canada, and it goes on and on like this. So I never stayed very long anywhere for that matter, but nevertheless the longest period was in Canada, so therefore I am officially Canadian. All right, tonight is going to be a very, very special recipe, as every time you see me it's a special recipe. We're going to have karak. In fact, if you're in the kitchen and if you have a few spices, just take out a few spices, black tea and water. You don't have to cook with me, but at least you will get the feeling of what we're going to be doing today. Karak, what does that mean? Where does the word come from? Why is it Emirati? Those questions are very, very valid. Officially, karak is from India. Actually, masala tea or masala chai. For those of you who don't know, and not many do, is the entire Gulf area was influenced and is still influenced by India, very, very strongly so. And the masala chai was transported over or brought to the United Arab Emirates in the 1960s when the United Arab Emirates discovered oil. And they already traded during the pearl harvesting. They traded with India, they traded with Iran, but the tea as such, karak, not masala chai, but karak, was introduced in the 60s. Having said that, karak, what does that mean? Karak in Urdu means strong. It officially means strong, it means stiff, It means a very heavy tea. And guess what? Yeah, it is a heavy tea. It has everything inside that we shouldn't eat, but it's lovely and it tastes just delicious, absolutely delicious. So why do you think that the Emiratis, they're not serving it in very large cups? They're now, in the last 12 months, smaller cups. And because there's a debate, the debate is that 4 out of 5 living or residing in the United Arab Emirates seem to have diabetes or are on their way of having diabetes. So meaning the sugar intake. Well, I have a solution to all this. I'm going to show you the traditional recipe and then you can alter it a little if you so wish at home. Now, why am I doing all these shows? There's a very good reason. I love cooking. I love my shows. And I hope that you enjoy them as well. And especially during this particular challenging time. It's for all of us very challenging, whether we are with a family or with friends or with our husband, wife, or alone at home. This recipe, as every time I broadcast a recipe, it's fun to do, fun to prepare for anyone who's alone at home as well. Which means if you're alone at home and you are quarantined, as most of us are, as we are as well, we're only allowed to go to the pharmacy, to the stores, but with our mouth guard and with gloves too. Having said this, try to have the next time when you're going to be doing this particular recipe, have your mobile or your laptop ready and share it with someone else so you can both cook it and then have a rendezvous with karak. Okay? All right. Okay, so what I am going to say that in case you see some boxes behind me when I turn around a little later, long story short, we had a flood, quite a severe one. So we had to move upstairs and there are no laborers available for the time being until further notice. Corona came along as well. And for those of you who may have sympathy with me, we just lost a tenant, meaning commercial tenant, because they can't afford the rent. So we're going through the effects of Corona, completely normal. But by the way, let's keep our positive attitude, which is what I do. And tonight we have karak. Okay, I'm going to show you. Karak is composed of powdered tea, and I'm going to show you how to powder the tea. I was unable, it's the first time ever, I was unable to get powdered tea from my Arabic or from my Turkish store in New Cologne in Berlin. So I'm going to show you how to powderize it. And here I have Luce tea, which is, they call it Turkish tea, but it's from India, and it's very, very similar to the tea that we drink in the United Arab Emirates. However, in the meantime, the Emiratis, they are absolutely flexible and they use many types of tea. And I'm going to show you another type if my son just stays here for a minute. I have another type of tea, which is in fact packaged in Austria. However, the Emiratis, they like to combine about 8% local. They call it local tea. It's not local. 10-15% European. The blend for European is just a little milder and has more perfume, a much stronger perfume, although the Indian tea is perfumed as well. Okay, I'm going to ask my son to come a little closer. And the tea, why is it so special? And as I said before, it's heavy or it's strong. Yes, indeed it is. It's combined with ginger, with fresh ginger. And if no fresh ginger is available, we use powder. 2 different flavors, although it's the same root, but they taste very differently. And I prefer the fresh ginger. And we're going to use a few cloves. They give the flavor. And we're going to be using cardamom. For those of you who have not seen the cardamom, I'm going to ask my son to come close. This is a pod with seeds. And what do we want? We want both the seeds and the shell. We're going to be dropping that into the hot water. And then further on, we have our star of anise. And this is a beautiful star right here. As you notice that the Emiratis, they work with spices all the time. Every single dish has spices. It gives a perfume, it has a special flavor, and it honors their senses. And this is what this is all about. In other words, they're being very, very, very mindful and respectful with their spices. So here we go. We have the seeds and we have the outer wooden shell. Both go into the tea. And then we have, there was one, yes, of course. We have here cinnamon, and you're familiar with the Ceylon cinnamon, which I'm going to break. And it's just breaks into little sheets, which is just wonderful. And you use just a little bit for 1 liter. I'm going to give you the recipe. Or what the Indians and Emiratis use, they use the other cinnamon. It's called cassia. Cassia, you don't use very much from this. You may, it's actually recommended. They use it for all the meals, but it's quite strong. And the other cinnamon is, the Ceylon is so much milder and very becoming for the stomach. Although cassia, this very thick bark from the cinnamon tree, is also healthy as well, but only used in moderate amounts. So we're going to use the cassia. For those of you who do not have cassia at home, then you can use cinnamon, and if you don't have the whole cinnamon, you can use the powdered cinnamon. Now, last but not least, we're also going to be using, as I said before, the cardamom. We have to break the pods in order for the flavors to exude. And I'm going to, just under your camera, Nikolai, we have saffron. For those of you who are not familiar with it, and for those of you who are, you've seen this last week, or last, I think, Tuesday. Each thread must have a thin end and a thicker end. It's actually, they're from the crocite plant, and they're taken one by one. So it takes a very long time to harvest them, and this is the reason, or one of the reasons, why it is the most expensive spice in the world. The saffron that I'm using comes from Iran. It's the one that I prefer. However, you can have the saffron from Spain and from some other countries as well. It's entirely up to you. If you are going to be traveling to the Gulf area, and especially, of course, to the United Arab Emirates, you're going to be able to buy the karak for 1 dirham, which is anywhere between 20, 30, 40, 50 cents euro, or right up to 25, 30 dirham, which is anywhere between 6, 7, 8 euros, depending if you're going to the hotels, or if you're going to a very chic, very, very chic restaurant, or if you're going, what I did, you go to the hole-in-the-wall cafeteria. They call themselves cafeteria. It's the best place to go. And how do I know that? Very easy. When I had time, which wasn't all the time, maybe once, twice a week, in the United Arab Emirates, I jumped into my Land Cruiser and drove behind the buses. Of course, I was caught by many of my husband's colleagues. Why am I chasing after the buses? Because it's a main street and most of us, they know each other. So having said that, I would stop and park my car and follow the bus driver or the bus drivers to the small cafeteria, and I would order the same thing that they ordered. Not always under $1 or $2 or 1 or 2 euros. And what did I order every time? Because it was always the same thing. Rice with fish, or rice with a chicken curry, and of course, karak. So I got used to drinking karak. My blood pressure went high, a little higher than usual, because I drank a little too much of it. Although I don't normally have high blood pressure, but I certainly did when I drank too much karak. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you is that if you are going to be traveling, and if we're allowed to travel, and let's say next year or so, and if you have the opportunity to go there, try to go to these very simple hole-in-the-wall cafeteria. Don't be shy. They have the best karak. They're no longer served in large glasses. They're served in half the size because of the inflation. But nevertheless, you can still get it for 1 or 2 or 3 dirham, which is still not expensive. And now comes the cooking part. Okay. And here you're going to see, we have the cooking, the water kettle. The water kettle in India and in the United Arab Emirates, this originates from India, but the Emiratis have most of their kitchen utensils from India, and we cook the water in this kettle. When you have karak, and when you're serving karak in the United Arab Emirates, it's done almost the Indian way. Not quite, although their Indian cook actually prepares it, but there is a slight Emirati flavor in it. And I will give you that tonight. Now, I'm going to ask my son to come a little closer. we have a very large pot. This large pot is also from India, but used by the Emirates or by the Emiratis. And why? Their karak boils all day long, or it simmers, not boils. It simmers all day long in preparation for the unexpected guests, for the expected guests, and especially for the snacks between breakfast and lunch, called fouala, between lunch and dinner, called fouala as well. Without snacks, no life there. So we had the breakfast, we had the snack before lunch, we had snack, we had dinner, and a snack at midnight. Just goes to show you, huh? There's a lot of food involved. So we're not going to be cooking in this pot. It's a little too much. I don't have a large family of 20 or 30. So I'm going to place it to the other side. What we are going to do, and what the recipe calls for, here we go. I'm going to put the fire on high. And the water could be boiling, which is actually almost at its boiling point. And we're going to be adding, here I go, 3 cups, just a second, 3 cups, 3 tablespoons, yeah, 4 cups of water. Here we go. I'm going to make 1 liter of karak. So we're going to add 1 cup. That is actually hot, wonderful. 1, 2. Oh, we have to fill it. 3. By the way, the cups are 250 ml. I think maybe my son can just zoom in here. 1 cup equals 250 ml. So 1 more, meaning an equal to 1 liter. So there we go, 1 liter. And this I will still keep it simmering. I'm going to put it down a little lower. And we're going to be adding the tea. I said before that I was unable to get or to acquire the powder tea. The whole trick is to have the powder tea for the flavors to exude a little quicker, because the tea is going to be boiled with the sugar. So I'm going to show you, if my son comes a little closer, I'm going to take the Luce tea, drop it into my mortar and pestle, a little more. There we go. We need 3 tablespoons of our tea. So we're going to be powderizing it. And I'm not sure if my son can see it or if you can see it. Now, if you don't have a mortar and pestle at home, you can use your coffee grinder. And if you don't have that, then don't powderize it. Simply use the tea that you have. Or if you have tea bags, and by the way, your tea bag most likely comes from Dubai. It's the major place in the world to produce tea bags, and that is done in Dubai. So there we go. There we go. We have now powderized tea leaves almost. We can just do a little more. There we go. And the fragrance is exquisite. I'm just going to pretend that you can smell it as well. Okay, we have here the combination of Turkish tea, because I can acquire it here in New Cologne, Berlin. Has the very, very similar smell to the one that we would normally use in UAE. I added a little bit of the European tea or mix from Austria. Very similar to Earl Grey, if you wish, but you don't have to. Earl Grey for the United Arab Emirates, at home they use it, but when they buy the karak commercially, it's your standard Lipton tea. Most of the time, they simply have the boxes ready and they're not actually packaged into small bags. Okay, now we have the powderized tea ready, and I'm going to take 3 tablespoons. I'm going to take a tablespoon. There we go. Okay. So this is, I'm heaping it because this is almost a tablespoon. So 1 tablespoon, 2, 3 tablespoons, and it's already exuding. The fragrance is simply exquisite if you're into teas. If you're not into teas, don't worry about it, because you'll love it anyways, and I will tell you why. Okay, just a second. I have to read my instructions. We're going to add a 1/4 cup of sugar. Here's a tea leaf inside. Okay, 1/4 cup. There we go. Now, normally the Emiratis, they don't add 1/4 cup. They add a lot more, meaning per glass I'm going to show you per glass 3 to 5 teaspoons of sugar. However, for those of you who cannot consume sugar or do not wish to consume the sugar, I'm going to show you. So I'm going to first of all pour it inside, and we have alternative to sugar, which is what I do here normally. For those of you who are familiar or not familiar, you might like to look into erythrit. An erythrit is fermented grape or fermented corn. In Europe, it's usually, if you're in the United States or in the Anglophone countries, usually it's corn, and in Canada it's corn as well. I prefer not to use corn unless you have organic erythrit, and that particular sugar is fermented in such a way that it's not absorbed. I think 95% is not absorbed by the intestine, so the body does not absorb it and the calories are not there, but it is sweet. Definitely it is sweet, and I wouldn't use as much. I would start with a little less than 1/4 cup of your erythrit, or half of that if you wish, 1/8, and you progress and add a little more if you want it sweeter. But this is a wonderful alternative if you don't want to have all the calories, the empty calories. Or, however, calories here, that's your xylite, which is birch tree sugar, although you have to make sure it is actually birch tree and not other, or a different composition. Make sure it's organic as well. And I strongly recommend it to be organic so that you can be sure as to what the contents are. And if you have the sweetener of your choice, then you use the sweetener of your choice. If you're into stevia, you can use it, but stevia is, the taste and the smell goes towards antibiotic smell. I know I'm being a little strong about this, but then the karak will not taste the way the karak should taste if you were to drop in a few tablets or loose sugar from the stevia. Okay, next what we're going to add is, yes, here we go. We're going to add 2 of the star of anise. This is for 1 liter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mash them just ever so slightly. There we go. And drop them in. And don't worry, you're not going to be drinking these pieces because we're going to be straining it later. Okay. And we're going to be now using 3, 4 cardamom. Because the whole idea of a karak is to have the karak taste like, I'm just going to transfer the tea. There we go. I'm going to, the idea or the flavor of the karak is predominantly cardamom. So we're going to add, here, I just simply crack them open. They're going in as they are, 4 into the tea. However, the flavor is still not strong enough. So what am I going to do? We're going to add powderized. It's a half a teaspoon of powderized cardamom. I can always strengthen it a little later if I want that. So there we go. Okay. Now we're going to use cloves. A few cloves. Not too many because they are very, very strong. Now you can see that a clove has a head and a stem. And what you, it's not in focus. Okay, now it's in focus. Is it in focus now? Mm-hmm. Okay. So we're going to remove the head and separate it in order, I just lost the head here. All right. This is where the flavor, we found it, where the flavor will then be exuding from both pieces. We're going to drop 3 of these cloves. This has no head. I'm going to remove the head from here and drop it in as well. And drop that one in as well. So, and here with spices, you can have a lot of fun. If you don't like cloves, don't add them. If you don't like star of anise, don't add it. The idea is, I hope you like cardamom, because the whole idea is to have it taste like cardamom. So you can actually steer it in which direction you want a little more. Cardamom has the first note, is the most predominant note, and then you can decide which of the spices will take the second note, third note, and fourth note. Ginger. I have here sliced ginger, the 3 slices. I'm going to add, because it's organic and fresh, it's very strong, it's only 2 slices, which I'm going to leave or drop into the pot. Okay, now if you want it very strong, then you can add more of your fresh ginger or powderized. But I'm telling you, with the powderized ginger, you will notice that it might be too strong, just a little too strong. So you have to experiment with it yourself. Just start with very little if you're not sure, and then you progressively add more if you wish. I'm going to add the cassia, which is our Indian cinnamon version. And this will be a small piece. In we go. If you want it a little more, you can add the powder, which is what the Indians do when they cook the karak in the United Arab Emirates. They have they actually run all the cafeterias. So let me show you. It's written in German, cinnamon, and I'm going to add just here we go. Quarter teaspoon of my Ceylon cinnamon. There we go. Okay, and what would the Emirati do without? What else was there? Ah, yes, of course. That's what it is. We have to add saffron as well. Here's a choice. We don't normally cook. In other words, we don't allow it necessarily to boil the saffron. It may lose its taste. It's usually baked and it has time to actually exude the flavors. But when it's in water, not necessarily. You can if you want to, but not necessarily. So what we are going to do, we're going to use the mortar and pestle and powderize just a pinch. And that is served after you poured the tea into the cup or into the glass cup. So I'm going to use the mortar and pestle. There we go. Ooh, I think I dropped the saffron. Here, can we see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay, isn't that wonderful? Oh, this is lovely, lovely smell. And again, I just have to, it's slightly orangey, slightly citric. It has a complete smell. In other words, there's nothing else missing. And it's so typical of the Iranian saffron fragrance. So if you can get the Iranian one, try. And if not, don't worry about it. Any saffron. And if you don't have any saffron, you cannot get it, which is probably the case. It's very difficult for the time being. I normally buy that from Amazon, if I can. And if it's not available, then I buy the Spanish one. And sometimes they have one coming also from, I think, Peru. It is originally from Iran, from many, 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 many years ago. Tastes a little different, but it's still saffron. Okay, so now we're going to stir it. But there's something missing here. I'm just going to stir it. And we're going to allow it to simmer. Or actually, just a little higher. It's going to be at medium heat. However, now we're going to be pouring in the milk. In the United Arab Emirates, what they prefer is the very sweetened condensed milk. In the United Arab Emirates, it's not called Dovgan. It's called a rainbow, and they already added the cardamom. Exquisite. I mean, I could just spoon it. What a sin. What a sin. And then the other option that the Emiratis love is also the condensed milk without sugar. That's another one that you might be able to get as well. Okay. The other option in my book, in my cookbook, is also mentioned you can use milk. So you can use the milk, and I would go half milk, half cream, just to have that creaminess. Exquisite. And the other option here is the cream, which is 35%. You can have half milk, half whipping cream if that's what you want. Otherwise, you can go with the milk that you wish. If you are a vegan, then you can do what we all do here at home as well, is use almond milk. You can make your own almond milk, or you buy your almond milk. The commercial almond milk has rice in it. I don't necessarily recommend it. It has a completely different flavor. If you can make your own, you pre-soak your almonds, a handful, into the mixer, add a liter of water, and you have it done. You don't even have to strain it because the bottom part will actually sink down. You can use it for your cereals. Okay, that's for all the vegans. It's exquisite, by the way. I am going to be using my favorite one, not a very healthy one, definitely not very healthy, but I'm going to use the sweetened condensed milk. So, and we're going to be using, oh, look at this. See? Very thick very sweet. Oh, exquisite. Okay, so we're supposed to use, behind my son, I have the, oh, 1 1/3. So I need 1 cup and 1/3. So it's, I think, almost everything actually. And if it's not enough, I can always use the milk. Okay, 1 cup. Here we go, we're going to pour it. There we go. Okay, that's 1 and 1 1/3. Okay, here it is 1 1/3. There we go. I think we're just gonna have enough. That's wonderful. Not quite, but almost. I'm going to just remove the rest with the spoon. Now again, you can choose the milk of your choice. There we go. So here comes the last 1/3 of the milk, or condensed milk, sweetened. And once you have your cup that I'm going to show you with the tea, we're talking about anywhere between 120 calories and 150 calories. It's a lot, isn't it? Well, you know what? Not a surprise. If we were to go back in history, why this heavy, or as the Urdu would say, karak, meaning heavy or stiff or very, very, very intensive, as far as the definition is concerned, there's a good reason for it. There were no meals. Very often they didn't have the meal, and the karak was their 1 meal per day, and it gives them energy. It is, why are the Emiratis drinking? Because it tastes absolutely exquisite. And the rest of the population, we have, I think, almost 10 million, more or less, in the United Arab Emirates, of which 1 million in a little is Emirati, and the rest are expats, of which the largest number are Indian from Bangladesh, and they're used to drinking this. And it is also their 1 meal or 2 meals. So it's, no, you can't take away, you just cannot take away the sugar. We all know it's not healthy, but they work a lot, most of the expats, and they need the energy from somewhere, and it's very inexpensive. So that's the reason why. So I'm going to ask my son to come a little closer and to show the color. It's changing color. And under normal circumstances, you let it boil, or you let it simmer, either for 20 minutes. And there's another method, which is what most use. You put it high, and you allow it to come to a boil, which is going to come very, very soon. And while we're waiting, we're going to stay here. I'm going to ask my son to come just a little closer to this side. What else is added into the karak to make it smooth? Guess what? I'm going to show you what we do. It's not the Emiratis, but it's the hole-in-the-wall cafeterias. The hotels, I don't think so. I have never had cookies or a sugar biscuit crumbled into the tea. But most of the cafeterias, they do, because they know very well the person coming in is their 1 and only meal. Sometimes they ask the other expats, meaning myself, whether I want it with the sugar cookie or not. But they don't often ask this. What they do is they add glucose, liquid glucose. This is where you have to, if you're there, ask them if they're using liquid glucose. It's not very healthy. If they use crystallized sugar, fine. I think we can accept that to a certain degree. And if you bring your own sweetener, you can also ask them to add your sweetener. All right, I'm going to crumble this sugar biscuit into the tea, which is going to make it, again, a little creamier, a little heavier, as the Urdu would say, karak, karak, meaning very strong, very heavy. We put another one, 2 of them for 1 liter. There we go. By the way, if you don't believe me, it's absolutely exquisite. And what a sin. Okay. I hope you try it. Okay, we're going to stir it. And it's going to boil very soon. It's going to rise to the surface. Okay, there we go. And they also add not only the sugar biscuits, but they also add the... sometimes they add chocolate biscuits. That is going also beyond the traditional karak. Here we go. The first boil, I'm going to ask my son to come a little closer. It's going to rise to the surface. We need to have the tea do that. We need the foam. And there it goes, rising and rising. We're allowed to go just a little higher. Okay, we'll have 3 rises. The same as what we did with our Arabic coffee. For those of you who were watching me the last time or the second to last time I made Arabic coffee, we allowed it to rise to the surface 3 times. And it's the same thing here with the karak chai or karak tea. Okay, the cookies have not, oh yeah, okay, they're actually fusing into the tea. There we go. I'm going to put it a little higher. This is the second time. We'll allow it to come to the surface a little higher. It's so beautiful to watch the Indians or the Bangladeshis prepare the karak tea in their hole-in-the-wall cafeteria. It's worth staying there for the half hour to watch them do it early morning. This is what I used to do. I used to just sit in front of them. They would give me a box, a wooden box, and I would watch them. And they said I would be the only one, the only expat to do that. Well, maybe I was, I don't know, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. As you notice, I had probably one of the best times in my life for the 5 years in the United Arab Emirates. It all had to do with food, all with food, nothing else but food. There we go. Okay, 3rd rising, 3rd one, we're done. And I'm going to do the following. I'm going to try to strain it. I'm going to ask my son to just concentrate on the tea for a minute. Okay, here we go. We're going to strain it. There we go. And the cookies, if you under normal circumstances, I would actually break the cookies, but we're not going to do it here. But under normal circumstances, you can actually mash them in. Maybe I can do it here too. Let's try it. So here we go. Now, any of you have ice cream machines at home? Just put your finger up, or just give me a sign. If you had an ice cream, yeah, the cookies are now fused into the tea. If you have an ice cream machine, the karak ice cream is just exquisite. If you allow this tea to cool down, you add another half a liter of cream, 35%. Put it into the ice cream machine. Taste it before if you need more sugar or just a little lemony if you want to. Just a little or less sugar. You have karak ice cream. So exquisite. So the next time I will make karak ice cream. Although it's not served in the United Arab Emirates, this is what I serve to our guests in Abu Dhabi while we were still working there for the German embassy. Okay, I think we have everything strained through now. And have a look. Now I'm going to show you with a spoon. I will have my son stay there. It's actually quite thick. Quite thick. And we're going to now pour it into a coffee pot or teapot. And I hope I will be successful. Let's just see. Okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over to the sink. I prefer to do it there, just in case. There we go. Okay. So this is how it's served. You can serve it in a glass serving pot, or you can actually serve it in a without this, in a traditional Emirati coffee pot. I'm going to just ask my son to wait here and I'll bring it to you. So here we go. This is a traditional, never meant for karak. It's actually meant for the Emirati coffee. But some Emirati families, they prefer to use the golden one, for example, for the karak, and the silver one for their coffee. Or the other way around, they have their own signals and their own messages. Here, this is the beak of the bird, and so on. So next time, we'll have the history of the Emirati coffee pot. So now comes the trick. How to serve karak. Now, I was not born in India, nor did I practice enough to learn how to pour it the Moroccan way, or in this case, the Indian way. Let's try it. We want lots and lots of bubbles. So there we go. This is lovely. Again, it's the same shape as the coffee pot in the Emirates. Very, very feminine. This is quite intentional. Very hot, and you can touch it here with your right hand. The left hand is left behind for hygiene reasons. It's a Muslim way. Now we are in the United Arab Emirates. What did we make different? Here we have the za'faran. I'm going to add a small pinch of the za'faran into the, very little, into the tea. We also added the star of anise and a little more of the cinnamon than what is called for if you were to compare it to the Indian recipe. Although no Indian is going to ever reveal to you what their mixture is composed of. You will never know. It might be another spice that I don't have here. I've not been able to discover, other than what I've been told by the Emirati women, not a problem, or Emirati men, or by Emirati chefs, but by the Indian who cooks his own tea every morning. He's religiously saying, no, no, madam, no, speak secret. Okay, big secret. So this is the karak, exquisite and delicious. How do the Emiratis drink? They drink it just like they drink their Emirati coffee. They hold it the right hand side. Left hand is left for hygiene reasons, so you don't drink or switch back and forth. No, you don't. There's an etiquette of drinking, very elegantly and very slowly. You don't drink it or gulp it down. There's just a sip, a small sip, and you enjoy it. Exquisite. And you know why? It has a fragrance of the homes, the Emirati homes, when they use za'faran. Lovely. It's so lovely. You don't have to add all that sugar, but you have to use sugar anyways. And if you're not going to be using your crystallized sugar, make sure that you have the alternative sugar. It has to be, it's a sweet that carries the flavor and the fat inside through the cream that comes to the surface. It's so wonderful. You cannot drink it quickly, absolutely not. So if you're reading a wonderful book, sit and sip this slowly. It's just so exquisite. You will not be able to eat afterwards, that is for sure. Or if you're alone at home, you can have this and share it with your friends or friend while you're Zooming with others or with your next door neighbor. Lovely. It's better than eat a cappuccino. Lovely. Better than an espresso? Very different. Better? No, but very different. Here we go. One sip again. So this is one meal for one person. Very often you will notice that many do not have breakfast, cannot afford it, do not have dinner, but they have one or two of these karak cups or glasses. They have a little more. If you were to travel to Oman, which is what I did also, I drove the family to Oman, many thousands of kilometers. They also sell karak, but it's slightly different. It's even sweeter, but predominantly cardamom, with no other spices, or virtually no other spices, and it's in a smaller cup, and it's far more expensive. So come across the border, come to the UAE, and go to a cafeteria hole in the wall, and you will enjoy this very much. Okay, having said this, I'm going to put this down, and you're going to ask yourself, what is it eaten with? So if you go to a cafeteria, to a hole in the wall cafeteria in the UAE, what else is served? Everything you can possibly imagine, all the way from raw juices, without sugar, with sugar. You have to ask without, otherwise they add the sugar. Obviously they're very good friends with sugar. And samosas, very Indian as well. And of course roti. Roti, they're round, flat bread. Now let me show you. I did not show you what's inside here. I'm going to ask my son to come a little closer. I made these rotis this morning. They're still flexible. And they are not dry. Why? Because I have my roti box. Traditionally, amongst the royal families and the noble families in India, they were made out of silver. Here, and I'm going to ask my son to come a little closer. This is the typical design that you will also see in Iran. For the Indians, this is the of mango. For the Indians as well, but in addition, they have other symbols, or other meanings for that particular design. Or it's the half of the almond for the Indians as well, but mainly mango. So this is the roti box. And why roti? Here it comes. Calorie bomb. We have cream cheese. I'm going to ask my son to come a little closer. You would spread the cream cheese on top of the roti. Fold it. And enjoy the roti, usually a little larger and with more butter on it. I actually spread very little butter on it, but if you're going to have the roti at the hole in the wall cafeteria, you can ask them to put more butter if you wish, which is not butter, it's ghee or clarified butter. Okay, here is my karak, here is my roti, and once again I'm going to enjoy this. Delicious. I'm not sure if I want it because I want more of that. Okay. Roti, absolutely exquisite. If you don't like cream cheese, you can add more ghee, clarified butter, or your butter of your choice. And definitely nothing sweet. So anything savory, or just a little bit of salt on top. Exquisite. All right. So with this in mind, the next time we will meet, we will have a different program. If weather permitting, I will be using my Iranian hot pot, or actually an Iranian barbecue, and we will prepare something Emirati in that particular fire pot. Okay, with this thought in mind, I'd like to thank you all, and I'm going to be inserting the recipe soon after, in about an hour or so. And if you wish to copy that recipe, enjoy it, think of me. Or you can buy the book now, you can, internationally on booksarabia.com, and they can send it to you. Again, I'd like to thank Gaetano Vivo, you are awesome. Thank you for allowing me to be on this program. I wouldn't be here if you had it not been for you. And for the audience, I'd like to thank you all who have come on board. And thank you again. It's Alexandra von Hahn. Bye.